Good morning, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Ideal's xLab Uncovering live stream powered by Switcher Studio. We are here today to discuss a topic that is certainly near and dear to my heart, working 9 to 5 in white spaces. And I'm so happy to have my girls with me today. I have Talesha Wilson. And Tala is a makeup artist and the creator of Diversity at the Table, which is a bi-weekly meeting that discusses the intersections of race, gender, sexuality, and class. I have Brianna Wright with me, who is the creator and owner of From My Roots. And Brianna is my beautiful daughter. That's why we look alike. And and I have Ramona Dallum Lindsey here. Ramona is a fabulous artist in Louisville. I have worked with her with Hadley Creatives, and she is a senior program officer at the Community Foundation of Louisville.
Yes.
Thank you all for joining me today. Thank you for working with my schedule, first of all, and allowing me to actually go to the Moth main stage last week. But I've been wanting to have this conversation about working 9 to 5 in white spaces. I do want to frame this conversation up and say this is not a conversation about we all hate our jobs and we just ready to get out. But this is a conversation about how being black and being a black woman and other intersections of being a black woman can impact you in the workplace. And we are going to talk about how corporations, businesses can be more inclusive so that people can show up to their jobs 100% as themselves. So I personally had this interesting life when I entered the workforce. One of my first real jobs was at Bates Memorial. Shout out to Pastor Williams, which was all black, right? And I loved it, right? So I loved it because I could wear what I wanted to wear. I could wear my hair how I wanted. Like one day I might have it in braids, and the next day I might take it out and nobody was asking why my hair was short again. It was just, I could go in the back and we would eat like greens or gizzards with hot sauce. We eat under. We did, girl, in the
All
kitchen. It was
right.
good too. Fried potatoes, and it was.
I know that time.
Right, and it was just, I felt at home, and then especially when things happen, Mike Brown and Trayvon Martin, we all wore Black Lives Matter shirts, we all took a stand for it, and there was like no issue or discussion like, why are you wearing that, or why is your hair like that today, or there was nothing. And then once I stopped working there, I entered into, to me, what felt like this whole other world of entering into white spaces to work. And I thought, this is extremely different for me. So I started to wonder why I was always so tired when I would come home. And I thought, you're tired because you're pretending to be somebody else 8 hours out of the day, right? So I wanted to have this conversation with you all to understand as a black woman, with a lot of different intersections, how it is to work in white spaces. So we will start off lightly. I wanted to ask you all, how often have you been asked about your hair working in white spaces?
Quite often,
Yeah.
but I'm considerably older than everybody else at this table. But when I've been natural for almost 28 years.
Wow.
So right after college, I cut it really short. And my mother, everybody was like, what's wrong with you? Where's your hair? And then white folks would want to ask, how'd you get your hair curly? Why is it this way? Why is that way?
Right.
But so I've gotten to the point where I think this is an education. And we're just going to educate you about black people's hair. And I was also a school teacher. So I would have kids ask me about my hair. So I just took it as a learning opportunity, and if I could educate them now, maybe they want to ask somebody else later.
Right.
So I learned not to be offended, but like these people really don't know. So let me help them.
Do they ask to touch your hair?
I haven't, not as much, but I think because it's short.
Yeah.
But Faith, my daughter, she has had braids. She'll do all this other big hair, like Brianna, and they will ask her a lot. And it's just, no, you don't need to
Right. Right.
Yeah, yeah. So you learn how to navigate, but I think when people just don't know, you got to help educate them a little bit and got to maybe be a little kind. But if the same person keeps asking, then I think there's a little bit more than some education needed, you know?
Right.
Yeah. How is that for you, Brianna? Because you are an owner of a natural hair care line, clearly of this big, beautiful afro. How is that for you in different spaces with your hair?
Well, no one asks to touch my hair, they just touch it, number one. And a lot of the times I will swat people away. I really don't care who you are. I will hit you if you try to touch my hair. But wearing my hair differently, like I'll do a round afro, which people take as a political statement. And I'm like, our hair's not political until you made it political.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when I come to work and I have in twist or something, it's always like, oh, why's your hair like that? Oh, you cut your hair. And I'm like, no, I didn't cut my hair. Or like today I'll wear my hair out and somebody I know will say something about it at some point in my day.
Yeah.
So it's not, I'm not offended. I'm annoyed per se because it's like, you know how I wear my hair. Please stop mentioning it because sometimes I don't want to leave the house just because of how my hair is.
Right. What about you, Tyler?
I think for me, like, I don't get as many questions about my hair. Like, no one has ever been like, well, maybe like one or two people like, can I touch your hair? But for the most part, like, people just reach. And no one has ever like got all the way to it because I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like you in the sense of like, no, like, and I'm one of those people like I don't want to explain at all. And I will hit you because you're touching me. And I think that it's not just that you're asking about my hair and that you're inquiring about my hair and that you are curious about my hair. Because if you are curious about my hair and black hair, you can take your butt to the hair store and touch all the afros, all the straight hair. You can do that on your own.
Yeah.
You can read about it. There's so many hair stores in West Louisville and even all around the city of Louisville where you can go into the hair store and touch and feel all you want to, without invading someone's space and without touching them and being invasive and intrusive on them. And so for me, it's not just like you touched my hair, but it's like you thought you had ownership to me.
Yeah.
It's the audacity, and that is what, it's not really a offense, it's more so a annoyance.
Yeah.
Like, how dare you? I can't believe you think that you can just touch me.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
It's just so confusing to me.
And to deal with that at work on top of all the other things you have to deal with can certainly, I know for me, can certainly be stressful or just another thing that you have to think about in addition to your work duties. So I wanted to ask you all, how do you feel when you go to work, and it doesn't even have to be your current job because we've all had jobs. So when you go to work, do you feel like there's a part of you as a black woman and a black woman with different intersections that you have to leave at home?
For me, I have to leave my cackle because when
Well, we gonna cackle here, girl. We gonna cackle.
when we're laughing, we get looks.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like I can't be my true self. I don't think any of my coworkers or any of my jobs have ever known me. And it's like when I leave work, I'm so different. When I come to work, I'm more cheerful because if I'm not, it's like, oh, Brianna's in a mood today.
And you're the what? We all know the word. The ABG, the angry black girl.
And it's like just sometimes I'm just a little tired. I'm
Yeah.
sorry I'm not smiling all day for your convenience. I'm just sleepy or something happened at home. Or like when there's an issue like you talked about when a black person's killed in the wrong way. It's just like, okay, I'm dealing with something and that's always brushed away.
Right.
You know, no one understands that, of course.
Yeah. What about you, Tala?
For me, I think that no, and this is only because when I went into corporate America, like all my jobs in college were kind of like not petty jobs, but you know, little fun jobs here and there, little work study and little volunteer stuff or just like stuff that was temporary, right? And it wasn't until like my current job where I'm like in corporate America where like I'm having to deal with these issues. So I had already like learned these things about myself. So I went into corporate America ready to rebel, ready to like let me tell y'all, like, I'm here and I'm trying to make money and I'm gonna put my best foot forward, but I already knew these things about myself and I already like have been learning about what it means to be a black woman in corporate America and what it means to have all my identities in a space that is predominantly white. You know what I mean? So like I went into that knowing all of that, and so I refused to leave parts of myself. And I think the first day like that we had like orientation or something like that, I like let them know who I am. Let me set the tone so that y'all can know. Even in my interview, let me set the tone so that you all can know who I am, because I'm never gonna lie. I'm never gonna fake it either. And I understand faking it because you have to make money, you have to survive. So I don't feel the need, I don't fake it, because I was like, let me tell them who I am. And then you can make the decision if you want me to be in your space or not. But if you hire me, you know what you're getting yourself into. You know what I'm allowing and what I'm not allowing. So even though like people, that same thing of like, if I laugh too hard, it's like people looking over the like everything like, what happened? What happened? It's like, and I'm gonna continue to laugh and because I can.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, like definitely feeling like if I don't, like even though I'm not gonna leave parts of myself, the fact that I don't, the looks and the stirs and the.
What about you, Ramona?
I do cackle. And to the point where, like, well, with one place we were in cubicles, and they were like, Ramona, you know, we work in cubicles, and we can hear everything. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I noticed later that people start wearing earbuds because I tend to vocalize when I'm working.
Yeah.
And so if it's something, I was like, dang,
Right,
what's up with this? So I'm always doing that, and that's who I am.
Right.
And that's part of who I am, and I think my coworkers know that now. So if they hear, they just keep on rolling.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to change myself because I've done that in the past. And it left me where you are, feeling tired, like what's going on. This isn't truly me. And if we're talking about diversity in the workplace means difference.
Right.
And so.
And some people are going to cackle.
Right.
Right.
And that's okay.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Because that shows how different people relate or experience whatever's happening around them. And with that difference comes new creativity, new ideas. So if a workplace is really about diversity and growing, then they're going to accept my cackle.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. Are they going to accept whatever smell they smell in the kitchen when I warm up my leftovers?
Yeah.
And so that's happened a lot too. And I keep hot sauce in
In
my
your bag.
drawer. No, it's in my desk drawer, and I pull out my hot sauce. I pulled it out yesterday. But that's part of who I am, and that's okay. And I don't think that I have to get my coworkers to accept me, but I need to be me. And that's what I try to do, is to be me where I am, but I've grown into that.
Right.
And I've learned to choose employers where I've seen that they accept that.
Right. So how do you, for Brianna, who is young and entering the workplace, I know, Tala, you're just a tad bit older than Bree, but you certainly say that you have set the tone. And I certainly have been, and I'm sure many people, whether they're young or old, have been in positions where you do feel like I have to leave part of me at home. But you two have seemed to really master this. So what advice would you give to people watching this live stream that feel like, well, when I go to work, I can't be my full self. I have to be this person because, like you said, I got bills. I have to pay my bills. I have to put a roof over them. I have to put food on the table. But what advice would you give them as they go into the workplace to be themselves?
Mine would be find your tribe. Honestly, like I'm at an advantage because I work at home. So like I used to work in the office for like maybe, a year, but after that, like I've been working at home. So I am at an advantage where I can just like be myself and say what I want to say. But when I was in the office, it was more so like find your tribe, find people who, because there's people who feel exactly how you feel, and you got to find them and hopefully you all gravitate to each other so that you all can support each other. So when these things come up, you have somebody in your corner who's saying like, Brianna's not lying. Like people are grabbing her hair, and this is making her uncomfortable and making her drain from this job, because it happens to me too. And it also happens to me. And it also happens to me. You know what I mean? And also, like, people who's going to advocate for you and who's going to speak up when you speak up. Like, I just remember being in meetings where I say something and people are like, and how comforting it would have been for someone to say, you know what, I hear you, or I understand that, but because so many of us are fearful of losing our jobs, and rightfully so, we kind of like stand to the back and be like, listen, I ain't gonna say nothing because I need this 9 to 5 to take care of my children or to pay my bills. But I think that once we know that we are a force to be reckoned with, especially together, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's easy for them to tear down you alone versus you, me, Ramona, and Hannah.
Right.
They can't tear us all down. So I think it's about finding your tribe and finding people who you are comfortable with and finding people who understand and are receptive to who you are and the things that come out of your mouth, and having them in your corner when you want to express yourself, and then also having some place to woosah and to breathe and to let down after work. Because a lot of times we just kind of like, after work, I just want to go to sleep and lay down. And I don't even want to work on my craft.
Right.
You know, I don't even want to work on my craft. I've been there, even at home. I don't even want to work on my craft. I'm so exhausted. So finding someone to maybe call after work and say, like, listen, today was a hard day and I need a drink, or I need to like vent, or I need to write something down. I just need to scream. Like, did you experience that today? Did you know? And people get around, they're like, girl, let me tell you, I know exactly what you're feeling.
Well, I've been in a lot of jobs where I've been the only one.
How's that?
So you can't find a tribe.
Yeah.
Because you are the only one. So for me, in those spaces at times, and this is challenging for me because I don't have a good filter. So I sometimes tend to say what is true and not really think about the consequences afterwards.
Yeah.
And so I have learned to accept whatever the consequences are if I'm going to be true to myself. And usually those consequences, well, they've never ended up in being fired, but they have ended up in me being called into somebody's office and having a conversation. And in that one-on-one time, that's when I can go into that conversation with that leader, that supervisor. This is why I said what I said. And I think that helps to build respect. And in a way, it helps to build trust. So, but it took me stepping out and saying what was my truth to get to that point. But it also required a lot of prayer for me, having my spiritual family and my spiritual relationship to be able to support me in that. It also had to deal with me going to FAMU, Historically Black University, and hearing every day that you are important, that you are bold, you are it. To give me that confidence to do that when I get into those spaces where I am the only one. And once you get into those spaces where you're the only one, how do I help pull other folks that are like me, or who bring different diversity into that space? And having my tribe after work. To somebody that I could talk to after work, and knowing it's okay for me to go home and scream, and it's okay for me to go home and cry, and not bottle that in. But I think that's what's helped me through those challenging times. But it's all being able to willing to accept whatever the consequences are, and being able to figure out how to find another job if I need to.
If you need to. I love that what both of you have said is to certainly show up as yourself and let it be what it's going to be. And it's taken me quite a few years to be able to get to that point where I'm just going to show up as Hannah. If you don't accept me as Hannah, that's fine, and I'm okay with that. So I wanted to ask you all, what are some, and here's the thing, when you talk about being the only one, there are some things that I feel some people just don't understand. And one of them is touching your hair and being in your space. And so I made this tweet. I'm always making a tweet and get myself in trouble. But I made this tweet and I said, I don't understand. And I'm not equating anything like sexual assault with touching someone's hair. But I said, I don't understand why many white women understand they don't want to be touched by a man somehow. So anyway, don't come touch me anyway.
Yeah.
But somehow can't connect that you touching me, I don't want you touching me. And they're always an excuse for that. Well, I just wanted to feel it. Well, I just wanted to. And I said, if a man came up and just started rubbing your hair as a white woman, he'd be in HR. But somehow you don't seem to connect that. As a black woman, you are in my space and you are touching me and I don't want you to touch me.
Right.
So I had this long conversation on Twitter and we went back and forth and I'm thinking, how can you not see this? Are you choosing not to see this? But I understand that some people just don't understand some things. So like what are some of the, and I know this is real big for you, Tala, some of the microaggressions that you have faced at work that some people just may not understand? Well, I really did not understand, although I don't see how, but whatever. But for the sake of conversation, how touching your hair could be offensive or saying you sound articulate, or what are some of the microaggressions that you have faced in certain spaces?
Mine has been over talking. That's a big one. I remember having a conversation with a leader and my coworker who was a white male, like in the middle of us two black women having this conversation, and I'm explaining to her something and I'm asking her questions about a case. And I remember him like walking up to us and started talking to her. And like immediately I felt anger. Because I've gotten to the point where I can't even hide it anymore, and I'm allowed anger because it's an emotion. I'm allowed anger.
You're allowed it. You're allowed it.
So immediately I was like, "Hey, no, do not do that. Like don't cut me off.
Right.
That was rude. Don't do that." And he was so shocked. So I think like that was one of the big microaggressions, or like mansplaining is a big one. Another big one would be like, you're so articulate. Oh, that was so good of you to say. Like, right. Or like after a meeting, like someone coming up and like patting you on the back, like, that was so good. Like, get off of me for one, and then secondly, what did you expect?
Right. What did you expect? And I always think that when I hear those things, what did you expect? And sometimes I wonder, why don't I just stop and ask them, well, what did you expect me to say? But that always, I always think about that. And I think sometimes there's just either this level of expectation for black people, or you just really don't get that what you just said was highly offensive. So have you faced any microaggressions, Brianna or Ramona?
Absolutely. One was definitely being pat on the back, and more recently, there was a problem at my job, and I was like, oh, this is probably the problem, and I got laughed at. So they brought in an expert, and I was like, yeah, I told them this was probably a problem. He was like, yeah, that's exactly the problem. I was like, yeah, it says it on there. Like, I read what it says.
Yeah.
And another time when I just couldn't hold it anymore and just bottling it up, like you said, don't do, I was snapped at, and I said, I'm not a dog, don't snap at me. And so I later got called angry, but I'm not a dog, so don't ever.
Right. Yeah.
So those have just been great examples, other than hair and over talking everything else, but the snapping was so far.
Yeah, that.
You got me messed up.
Right. And then when Bree comes home, I have to remember Bree's an adult, because I'm like, you did what? You picked the wrong daughter to snap at.
Yeah. I think that some people have privilege, and in their privilege, they've sometimes have never been corrected or challenged. And because they have had this privilege for so long, it's just like ingrained in them that they don't understand, and they really don't. But I think you telling me I'm not a dog, don't snap at me. I mean, that's how you confront it, and that's how you challenge it.
Yeah.
And you have to challenge it, I think, when that happens. Yeah.
I like that. So y'all, we all gonna get fired. Everybody's fired, and we gonna make it.
Anyone watching this?
I'm playing, but
I'm not getting fired.
No. No, because these are, honestly, these are certainly the conversations that businesses need to have. Like I read this article today that when it comes to diversity and equity and inclusion, the main people that are benefiting from diversity in the workplace is white women. And I said, white women in the workplace, it's not the picture of diversity. This is not what I have in mind when I think of a diversity and equity and inclusion. This is a big topic I talk about, the illusion of inclusion. And so I wrote about this, and there's this space, we're just gonna call it a space. And it looks, on that surface, it has the look of it has the flags and the, non-gender bathrooms and all the things. But when I look around, everybody's white. And I'm thinking, it looks the part. You have created this illusion and you look it. But when I go deeper beyond the surface, that this is not what inclusion and diversity looks like.
Exactly.
And a lot of businesses now, because everybody wants to be inclusive, everybody wants to be diverse, everybody want to have equity and equality. That's the word.
So they hiring the one.
Come on now, come on. They hire the one, and it's always the black woman over the diversity, equity, and inclusion department, right?
Oh, it definitely is.
Right. Always. And then how far up do you allow her to go? Or do you really allow her to really do her job? Or is she going to be the angry black woman if she steps in and is bold and and sets the tone? And so a lot of that I think about often is how can businesses get beyond this illusion of inclusion? What can businesses and corporations really do? If you are really going to be about being inclusive, then what are some suggestions that and I mean real don't put up a flag. That's, you know what I'm saying? It's cute. That's cute. But are you really about that? Are you really about Black Lives Mattering for real? Are you really about these things? Or are you satisfied with the illusion? It reminds me of, remember back in the old days, Bree, you too young, which says a lot about my age. When your mom and your grandma would have and you young too, child.
I might get it.
The fake fruit on the table.
Yes.
And it looks so good.
Yes.
And it looks like.
And you get ready to go grab a piece and you're like, I can't eat this.
Right. I can't eat it, but the illusion of it looks good, right? And so to me, that's what all these companies are doing, because, you hear about the Starbucks and the other companies, and they have now, been caught, right, with this illusion. And so they're like, well, let's slap the flag on this cup and we good now, so what do you all think about that? And then how can companies, if you're really going to be about it, let's be about it. If we're not going to be about it, then let's not pretend. That's where I'm at.
I think that for me, it's about, for one, pay me.
Girl, you better preach.
That's just
Back
the first
it up.
one.
Say it again. Repeat it again.
Pay me. And I say this because, I work hard, you know what I mean? In a space where I feel like I'm valued, in a space where I feel like I'm respected, I'm going to go harder than I should. You know what I mean? So the biggest thing is pay me what you owe me. Rihanna.
Don't act like you forgot.
So, and that's the first thing. And then the second thing is put us in positions to where we make the decisions.
Come on.
So, and this is just a little background. Just yesterday, I had a one-on-one with my supervisor and was kind of just like, while she's talking to me and telling me all these things, and I'm, telling her my ideas and everything. She's like, well, I really can't make any decisions, but this is a Black woman. And she's like, there's nothing I can do. And I'm like, well, who can do something?
Right.
Because the people who are making the decisions are not the people who we're talking to. You can't make any decisions.
Right.
Even as a Black woman and you being in a supervisor position,
right.
You still have no power to create any type of change. You can't even advocate for your team. You can't even stand up for your team because even within this conversation, the only thing that you can say is, this is the way that they want it. This is the way that they said that I have to do it. So you literally
Right.
have no control over anything. So like, put us in positions to where we make the decisions.
Yes.
Because honestly, if we're just being blunt,
Well, let's be blunt.
Your job is only going to thrive once you put us in those positions.
Thank
I'm
you.
telling you, you're going to have
Thank you.
high turnover. You're going to have like low diversity and inclusion rates. Like, it's just going to be horrible. Your job ain't going to make no money because you're not putting the people who know how to do this work
on.
in positions of power.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
You're power hungry and you're privileged and
Yep.
you want to stay there instead of like making your business thrive.
Right.
Because we going to do it.
Right.
Because we know how to,
We know how to do
navigate
it.
through pretty
Yep.
much everything. So for me, it's about money. It's about putting us in positions to create change. And it's also about not being afraid to be called out. Like,
Come on.
let's be honest here. Like, you pat me on my back every single day is annoying. So when I call you out about that, I can't be I can't care about your sensitivity to you making me uncomfortable.
Right. That's
And
right.
I think that if you really care about diversity and inclusion, you're going to pay attention to that.
Yep.
You're going to attend the things. You're going to actually put the work in. We had the woman who trained me on facilitation and diversity and inclusion and equity. The woman who trained me, she came into my job for the whole entire company and did a workshop. And I reached out to my supervisor and her supervisor and said, I think that it would be really good for upper management to attend this. And they're
Yeah.
like, yeah, that would be nice. Thank you for letting
But
us
they
know.
haven't
And
attended.
literally, there were like 5 people in the whole company there.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Nobody from my team, but 5 people in the whole entire company.
But that's what the people in leadership
That's it.
need to be behind these initiatives and supporting. You can put somebody in a position of decision making, but if that decision maker does not have the support, the financial resources, the intellectual resources, the people on their team that are going to help move those decisions forward, then they're just a token decision maker.
Right.
And so I think if companies are really going to be about what you said, diversity, equity, and inclusion, they have to give all of those other supports. I've seen too many leaders of color placed as heads of organizations because it seems like that's the trend.
That's the trend.
Right now, but they're not given access
Right.
to the
Yes.
same capital, the
Yes.
same
Yes.
intellectual, human resources to help them drive those missions as the leaders who were in those positions before them, who were generally predominantly white males. So I think we really have to look at how we look at the power structures, we look at where those resources lie, and how do we make those resources available and accessible to more people.
I like that.
Yeah, and I think it's all about access. And where I am now, I see those resources.
Yeah.
And how do I help to really connect the people who need
Thank you.
those resources to them? And how do we shift the way that we think about things? How do we change narratives about diversity and people? And how do we help to shift the thinking of those people who are actually holding all the marbles?
Yeah.
I was talking to one of my friends yesterday, and she was like, if I have all the marbles to play the game,
Right.
and you want to play the game with me, but you have no marbles.
Come on.
You got to convince this person to let go of those marbles, but you have to do it in such a way where they're not turned off and like, I'm keeping this.
Right.
I got it, and I'm not going to let it go. To logically, how are we going to all improve if you release some of those marbles so I can get into the game too?
Right. I think that is so important. Everything you all said. Bree, did you have to chime in there? Well, go ahead, honey, because you know I talk. But go
I think everything that was said is important.
Yes.
And I hate to say it, I don't want to sound ridiculous, but you're not going to have diversity or inclusion if the people on your staff are not diverse. You can be white and diverse still, but what are your experiences? When was the last time that you like left your little bubble of whiteness and went outside of that and
Come on.
experienced a different culture?
Come Come on.
Don't hire me because I am a tick mark or a checkbox of
Right.
one of 3
You're
black
right.
women.
You're right. You're right.
And I don't, all this inclusion and you're hiring white adjacent people.
Right.
That's
Yep.
not inclusion. They have the same experiences and the same background as you. So if you're not getting out yourself and trying to be diverse, your whole team's not going to be diverse. It's just going to be about checking off things. Like, we have a black woman over here in this department,
Right.
a black man, which I never see black men hired
Yeah.
in predominantly white spaces, which is odd to me. But if you have someone over here and over there, that's still not diversity or inclusion. You just did it to do it.
Right.
That's what I think.
Did you have something to talk? Because you was amen and hard. Did you?
No, it's just, you know what I'm saying? Like, it really resonated with me. Like, I literally just said this yesterday. Like, the people who are making the decisions, like, they don't know anything. Like, they are not affected by the decisions that they make. They are not affected by this. They can change our schedules whenever, but you don't. You're white men making decisions about women, for one. You're changing our schedules. Well, I don't have nobody who's going to watch my autistic child from 3 o'clock until 7 o'clock because you decided to change my schedule that used to be 6 to 2:30. You know what I mean? I can't just do that. I'm a single mother. I can't do this.
Right.
I can't. There's just certain things that I cannot do, or that prevents me from doing certain things, and you don't have to experience this. You literally are making decisions that will never affect you.
Yes.
You can wake up and just go to work. Some people have to wake up, get their children ready, wake up, get their families ready, wake up and when they're going to work or catching a bus to work or catching an Uber to work or driving to work, they see violence. You don't go through that trauma. You don't see that at all.
Right.
You're making decisions that affect my life, that affect my pay, that affects my well-being, that you will never be affected by.
Right.
Ever. And until you step outside of yourself, until you know what I'm saying, knock down your walls and knock down your lenses, because I get it, you a white man and you have your own lens, but until you intentionally knock those things down and step outside of yourself, step outside of your privilege,
Right.
you're not going to understand these things. And because of that, why are you making decisions
Right.
that don't affect you?
Yeah. So true. So
It don't make
true.
sense.
Because they holding all the marbles.
Because they hold all the
Yes.
marbles.
Because you want it for yourself because you're greedy. And this is all you know, and this is
Yeah.
all you've been required to
Yeah.
know. No one has made it obligatory for you to know anything other than this.
Yeah.
I think it has
boy.
to do with like how, whether or not we feel we put ourselves in this position, black women are told to be hard, to not have emotions. I think people that are making decisions, obviously white people, in the workspaces, they don't look at us as the same as the white females. And so
We
like,
could be here a whole nother hour, child.
when I go to work or, go to different places and the white women I'm around are complaining about, their spiritual journey, or a raindrop hit them and it meant this, and, the retrograde, like Mercury retrograde. I'm like, but I'm going through real things. You're talking about the placement of the moon. Like,
Yeah.
you really want me to be receptive to this and how things are lining in the sky for you? Okay.
And I don't care about what your husband did to you last night. I just really don't. I really don't care. Like, because I know I can't have these same conversations. I can't talk to you about what I experienced last night. I can't tell you that, hey, this black man has died on my street. You know what I'm saying? I can't tell you that I heard gunshots last night and that it
Why
was a
can't
struggle
you?
I mean, I can. I do, but I'm saying that I don't get the same support that you did. When you come in and you tell me, oh my God, little Johnny, he shot the basketball and I'm so excited. Everyone's like, oh my God, this is so amazing. But if I tell you like something that I've accomplished, it's like, oh my God. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like I can't, we're not the same for one. And we're not treated the same either. Like I can't come to, my job and start complaining about what I went through last night. Because then I look like I'm angry. Then I look like, oh my God, like this is not the place to be having this conversation. Even though, Amanda over here just had a whole conversation about, her marriage and how it's failing and how she just cannot do it. And she's ready to go to Pilates and yoga right after work. And she doesn't even really need this job because, I just came here to get social with people. I just came here because I love the people here. I love my job. And the whole time I'm here because if I don't pay my water bill, I'm going to be without water. Right. We're here for two totally different reasons.
I think everything you all said is very powerful. And what I got from it, what really truly needs to happen is to come out of your bubble. It makes no sense to have a diversity, equity, and inclusion, a facilitator come in and the people at the top aren't there. That makes absolutely no sense because it's the people at the top that are controlling everything, that have all of the marbles. But I also do think, even Ramona, with you in your position, and going with what you said, Tala and Bree, for, you know, one thing I hate is for something to happen in a company and then they call in the black woman. And I said, why are black women always the cleanup woman? So the thing is falling apart, and now here, let's hire the black woman now to fix our mess, right? Because black women are always the cleanup woman. And I always think if you would start with the black woman, you wouldn't have even had that mess to begin with.
Oh my God.
Right? Because
are not even the black woman, but the people who best represent the community that you're trying to work with.
Preach it.
And not work for, but work with. To be partners with.
Yes.
And it's not just bringing those people to the table, but having those people that you want to work with as partners in the decision-making processes. And if more corporations were bold enough and brave enough to do that, well, I don't think we would have as many cleanup situations.
Exactly.
What I hate is that when something happens like that, it looks like you okayed it because you work there.
Yeah.
Like, that irritates me so much.
So do you all, this is my last question, I think. Lord, we done went over, but y'all already knew how that was going to go. Do you think there are any businesses, and it could be in Louisville or Kentucky or just this nation, that are getting it right when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion?
I'm going to hold my peace.
I think there's people who are trying.
People who are trying.
Yeah.
And I would give people,
I'm not going to drop any names, but I think there are people who are trying. But I also think it's going to take us also being brave to continue to challenge and push. Yeah. And to educate ourselves enough too.
It's gonna be a hard no for me. Even though, like, and I'm saying it's gonna be a hard no because just because of my own feelings, I'm be honest. But there are companies and there are corporations and there are people in jobs and stuff that do good work, and I'm appreciative of that. But not enough to make a difference. Not enough for me to get right here and say, yes, I think that we are okay. No, not enough. And the thing is that if we have 150 jobs and 5 of them are doing great, it's not making a difference in my life. So it's going to be a hard no for me for that reason. Like, I think that people really have to be comfortable with giving up their power, and they are not. And I think that now it's going to require us to just take it. You know what I mean? It's going to require us to, like, when you asked about advice, every single thing that happens in your job, write it down. Every single thing, any mark, any comment, any touching, anything. I mean, I have a whole list. So when they fire me, I know what, you know what I'm saying? Like, when they fire me, I know what to go to the people and let them know, you know what I'm saying? Just in case I want some ducats, you know? But I think it's about taking away that power, because when you do that, then you're in a position, because I'm a black woman. And as much as I talk about black women and black womanhood, and that's where I start for everything, I love people. And I exist for people. And I just love people, and I want people to be great, and I want people to do good. So anytime that I'm in a position to create change, everyone's going to benefit from that.
Thank you. Everybody's going to benefit.
And even though I don't even want them to sometimes, they still going to benefit. They still going to benefit because I'm a black woman, and I can't do nothing but do that.
But that's also the power of truth. When you work in truth, then everybody is gonna benefit.
Come on.
Yeah, but when you start to manipulate and start dealing in mistruths, then that's when you have one group who's privileged over another.
Exactly, and you have a hierarchy.
Right. Yeah. So I think we have to be open to that working in the truth.
Well, Bree, you got any last comments before I wrap it on up?
Just do better.
Just do better. Well, I thank you all for open, honest dialogue. I knew it was going to be open, honest dialogue because that's how we do when we get together. And I hope that the people who have tuned into this or watch it back, please take some lessons from what Tala and Brianna and Ramona and myself have shared today. Certainly, if you are at the top, share the marbles and everybody will benefit, and put people in positions of power that represent the people they are serving, that have the people's best interests at heart. I love working with Ramona because Ramona is always going to look out for other Black artists, other artists of color that just don't have opportunity. And what if you weren't in that position? How many of us would miss out? And that's why it's important. I went through Hadley Creatives. I was able to meet Ramona. I went through Hadley Creatives and my entire life changed afterwards. What if that hadn't happened? You know what I mean? And so when I heard about it, then it was time for me to tell other people about it. And now I have other friends that have been through Hadley Creatives. I was just in New York, where now Brianna, who's at Hadley Creatives, is now up in New York. And that's the benefit of putting people in position to allow other people to rise, other Black people and people of color, LGBTQ, people who are normally marginalized. It will only benefit your business. And some people only understand dollars and cents, and if that's the way you need to get it, that's the way I will serve it to you. Call Black women or people of color or the people who represent the people first. We don't have to clean up the mess that we didn't create. Let us just continue to build. Would y'all agree with that?
Yes.
Well, I thank you all for being here. I'm going to read these notes off this paper because I done forgot it. I done got to talking, and that's just what it is. So, so next week, we are having actually an honest, an uncovering workshop. You can go to idealsxlab.com/uncovering. Josh Miller, who I work with, will be there discussing. I will be discussing the illusion of inclusion, which I really think people can benefit from. So please check out the website. It will be next week. You can sign up to come, and please tune back in or share this post. And like my daughter Brianna said, just do better. So thank you for tuning in.
Thank you for the invite to the
You're
white
welcome.
table.
Thank I had to the